Hi, I'm Fraser Douglas, the avid tent camper. In this video, I want to show you how you can bake a delicious fruit pie right in your campsite. I'll be baking the pie in this beautiful 9-inch stoneware pie plate that was made by Christy Rawson. She has a small pottery studio in Boaz, Alabama. Christy sells this plate for $35 to $40 depending on features that you want, and I noticed that this is about half the price of good quality ceramic plates in antique stores. Now, I've cooked a lot of pies over my lifetime, but they've always been in my home oven and they've always been in a pie tin. I've never cooked a pie in a ceramic plate or in a Dutch oven. I hope it turns out okay. Let me begin with just a little history. Meat pies baked in pastry shells have been popular in England for over 1,000 years. Recipes for these meat pies were brought to this country by the very early English settlers. Fruit pies became popular in the 1800s and were cooked several times a week by pioneer families in their Dutch ovens. In particular, apple pies were especially popular and became a symbol of our American cuisine. When baking a pie, one of the first decisions to make is the type of pan or plate to bake it in. Personally, I prefer either metallic or ceramic because I want to cook pies in my campsite like our American pioneer forefathers did. Until now, I've only baked pies in metallic pie tins, but I'm anxious to learn how to bake pies in a ceramic plate because most great chefs believe that you can get a better tasting crust from a ceramic plate. But when baking with a ceramic plate, you have to cook it a little bit longer to make sure that your bottom crust gets completely done. The best pie plate size is 9 inches in diameter because this size will easily fit inside of a 10-inch Dutch oven and because most recipes are measured to make a 9-inch pie. I'll be cooking the pie in a 10-inch diameter Dutch oven because I believe this is the best size for most tent camping families. This size is economically priced, easy to pack in a small milk crate or other box, and easy to clean, but yet it is large enough to cook many meals for a family of 4 or 5. The Dutch oven should have a flat lid to hold the coals that are needed for baking. And personally, I prefer a Dutch oven without legs because they can be used on both camp and home stoves. To bake the pie today, I'll be using this 4-quart Bayou Classic Dutch oven. And I'll set it up on this steel Camp Chef Dutch oven table and use my woody folding camp stove as a windscreen and baking chamber. The first step is to make our dough. Here are the ingredients ready to go. I'm starting with 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and to that I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 tablespoon of sugar. I'm going to mix this up together and then add about 1.5 sticks of salted butter cut up into small pieces. Now this is 2 sticks of butter, so I won't be putting all of this butter in there. Now this butter must be very cold, so it's been in the refrigerator, and this morning is very cool, so I'll put about that much in there. And then I'll begin to cut the butter into the flour. I'm trying to get all the little pieces of butter cut down to about the size of a green pea. Well, it looks like I've got most of the butter cut in here. And now I'm going to add a few tablespoons of ice water. All total, it took about 10 tablespoons. I'll start with 2 and stir that in. Add 2 more. Well, it's taken about twice as much water as I expected, but I think I've got it to the dough to the right consistency. I want to be able to pick it up and make a ball and it not be too sticky. So there's 1 ball. I want to make 2 balls out of this. And after I've got this compressed into a nice ball, I put it on a lightly floured board, and I want to kind of flatten each ball to make a disc. And then I'm going to put each disc into a plastic food wrapper. I'm going to seal each one and put them in my cooler for about an hour or 2. I'll be using charcoal to cook this pie today because charcoal gives me much better control over the top and bottom temperature of the Dutch oven. But ultimately, I hope to be able to bake this pie with wood fire coals. Well, the dough's been in the cooler for almost 2 hours and we're ready to roll out our crust. But before I do, I want to start the charcoal. While the charcoal is going, I'm going to roll out my bottom crust on a lightly floured board. Well, I've got my bottom crust made. It's not pretty, but I think it'll be okay. I'm going to lay it out in my pie plate. And use that to patch little holes that I've got. And now I'm going to add the pie filling. For camping, I'll use canned pie filling, and I've got cherry pie filling here. But at home, you may want to try real fruit pies. And I'll pour the pie filling in. Smooth that out a little bit. And then I'm going to put some of this butter on top. And make my top crust. To make the top crust, I'll roll out the second dough disc just like I did for the bottom crust. And now I've rolled my crust out. I'm going to put it on top of my pie here. And again, trim around the edges a little bit. and I'm going to pinch my edges together all the way around. Now I'm going to try to get a little scallop in the edges. And I need to cut some slits in my top pie crust to ventilate. I also brushed a little egg and milk wash on top of the pie and sprinkled with sugar. To bake the pie, I need to put some coals under the Dutch oven and on the top lid. I'll use this Lodge lid stand to hold my Dutch oven above the coals. Here's what it will look like. Well, I've got 8 coals on the bottom, and I've got 16 coals up on top. These coals will only last for about 25 minutes, and so as soon as the pie starts cooking, I'm going to have to start another batch of coals pretty soon. In here you'll see some stones that I'm going to use to lift my ceramic plate about 1/3 of an inch above the surface of the Dutch oven, hopefully to prevent thermal shock. Put my pie in there and put the top on. Spread my coals a little bit. And check the time. This will need to cook for about 50 minutes before I check it. Now before 11 o'clock I'll need to rotate the oven and the lid a couple of times just to make sure that it's heating evenly. Well, it's about time to rotate the oven and rotate the lid, check on the pie, and add some fresh coals. Well, here's the pie after 1 hour and 15 minutes. We need to let it cool down for about a couple of hours, but that'll be hard to do. In the past, pioneer families made so many pies every week, they needed a special place to cool them down and protect them from bugs, and thus the pie safe became one of the first pieces of furniture added to a pioneer kitchen. I'll just set the pie on this towel and cover it up good. It's been hard waiting, but I'm ready to taste this pie. Well, I couldn't wait long enough. I just had to taste this pie, and so I've already eaten one slice, and it is delicious. My top crust was very, very flaky, and my bottom crust was done, not as flaky. It tastes wonderful. Yum. I love cherry pie. And I'm very pleased with the performance of this stoneware pie plate. In case you might be interested, here are a few more items that Christy makes. And here is her contact information. For more information about campfire cooking and Dutch oven cooking, please subscribe to this channel, visit my website, and check out this video posted below. Thanks for watching.